All right, so let's get into it. So first thing we need to do to make this effect happen is that we need to make a controller, and the controller is going to be a plane using geometry nodes. So first off, we're going to create a plane. I'm just going to turn on wireframe here, not for this selection, but also for all. And then I'm just going to make another window here. And so we're going to make a controller that's going to drive everything for this effect that we created that I showed in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to select the object, hit new. And first thing we want to do is create a grid. And then we're going to replace that. We can get rid of this. We don't need that. Now I'm just going to make the grid 128 by 128, 128 by 128 vertices. So there's enough resolution. All right, so once we got that, now we can start setting up our mesh. All right, so first thing we need to add is a set position node. Going to add that in, and then next we need to do a combine. Got that, and then I'm going to plug that here, an offset, and then we're going to create a wave texture. I'm going to take the F back and plug that into the Z, and as you can see, it's affecting my geometry. And then just to do a little trick here, if you guys didn't know this, we can just have an infinite loop play. So if you type hashtag frame / and then say 16, turns purple. And if I hit play, it's just going to play infinitely. So I don't even have to set up keyframes. So now I can just leave this playing as I set up this controller. So we're going to switch this to rings. I'm going to set this to spherical, and then I'm going to decrease the scale of the whole thing so that I get less and less and less waves. So as you can see, there is my waves. Okay. So from here, the next thing I want to do is start editing this whole setup. Okay. So we're going to add some variation to it by using noise and overlaying them together. All right. So next we're going to add in noise just like that. And then I'm going to just shift this over a little bit. And then I'm going to add in a math node. And this math node is like an overlay like we do in Photoshop. So if you didn't know, dealing with pixels in Photoshop, it's all math. So that's why those overlays are called multiply, linear dodge with in brackets add, which is adding. So we're going to add this math node, and then we're going to plug in this value, and then plug that there, and then we're going to replace this. So as you can see, we've just added these two together. So we got noise and wave happening, and I want to set this to subtract just like that. So that's set to subtract now. And now that we got that set up, we just need to soften this out. So again, I need to increase or decrease the scale of this wave texture, and then I can have further control over this whole thing. I actually want to reverse this wave too. So right now it's going inward, and I want it to go outward. So I'm going to add a minus in front of the 16 just so that it goes the opposite direction. So once that's done, now we just want to get some more control over this whole thing in general. So what we could do is add a ramp here, and then we can add a ramp here to both nodes so that we just get further control over everything. And then I can add another thing too. So I can add a map range so that I can clamp down on my colors. Because right now, this is pure white. So that's why this peak and valley is so deep, is because this is pure white at the peak, and then at the valley is pure black. So I just want to decrease the white down to a gray so that it's more subtle. But I'm doing this just to show you all. But at the end of the day, this is a controller that we're creating. So I do actually want higher peaks than usual. But if you want more control over this area, what you could do is just use this map range. So I could plug this here and then take the bottom and then just bring that down like so. So that's how you can decrease it if you need to, if you want to do something else. So I'm going to remove that, keep that out for now. And then I'm going to tweak these areas to see what I can do with this. So I'm going to mess with the blacks, maybe something like that. I'm going to mess with the wave actually, flattening it. Okay. So what else can we do here? So I can do that. Just want to do some tweaking. I'm probably going to increase the scale is what I'm actually going to do. Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and then probably decrease the scale some more so I get more big waves. And then see what I can do with the detail. Leave that there. See if I change this. Yeah, there we go. And then, okay. So if we look at it from a side view, right, we're getting a lot of randomization in here. That's what I'm looking for. So I can leave this as my controller now, right? Got a good wave setup. I could say, okay, this is my controller. And now we can create the next thing. So I'm going to hit stop real quick. And then I'm going to shift D, duplicate this, bring that up. And then I'm going to bring this down here for what now, and then bring this back to the original location. So with that being said, I'm going to take this one, this plane here, and I'm going to duplicate this. So this is just a grid now. So I'm just going to name this grid. All right. And then I'm going to remove everything except the grid. Okay. So we got our grid, got that all set up, and then remove the set position node, and we just have a grid. Okay. And then what we're going to do with this grid, we're just going to collapse it actually, because we don't need this as a geometry node, because the reason being is I need to set up vertex groups. And if I go to edit mode right now, or vertex mode, it's still referencing that original plane that we started with. And I don't want that. So we need to be able to take advantage of all these vertices that we have here. So I'm going to go to my modifier stack, and then I'm going to hit here, apply, and now it's collapsed. And if I go to vertex mode, I can select all these vertices, go over here to data, and then I'm going to make a new vertex group, assign all the selected vertices. So I just hit that assign button so that all my vertices are assigned. Okay. All right. So next step is we're going to go to our modifier stack, and then I'm going to add a proximity modifier. Okay. Vertex weight proximity. So that's what I'm going to add now. And then what we're going to use as our vertex group is the one that we created here. And then the object that we're going to reference is our control. And we're going to name this control real quick. And then I'm going to go back to my plane, and then I'm going to select control. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this in closer. So as I'm looking at those peaks and valleys, I just want it to kind of intersect a tad bit. All right. And if I hide that, I don't need to be able to see it. I'm going to do some house cleaning, move this here. Let's get rid of these collections. And then we're going to hide the control like so, and then select the plane again. And then from here, I'm going to take the plane. We got that all set up. And then we're going to set it to geometry so that it's referencing the actual things that are happening to the geometry. And then now we need to just play with the weights. So I'm going to start off with 8, and then I'm going to switch over to from object mode to weight paint mode. So as you can see here, now that hidden geometry, which is our control, is affecting the vertex groups of this plane. Okay. So if I even go here and start playing with this, right, you can see I'm changing the spread of the vertex map. So I'm going to set it to something like 8, like I had it. And then I'm going to go here to fall off, and I'm going to set it to smooth. So it's a smooth ramp. And then I'm going to go back here. Let's see. And then I'm going to see, do that. And then I need to flip it, because red means that something is happening, and then blue means nothing is happening, basically. So I want to flip it. So I'm going to go off to my fall off. I'm going to set this to smooth. I thought I set that to smooth. Set that to smooth, and I'm going to flip it by pressing this so it inverts it. Okay. So now these areas are affected. Okay. So that's what's happening. So now that we got that set up, I need to get that little yellow piece right there. So let's just go up a tad bit, cover that. All right. So now that we got that set up, now we can further edit some more areas. Okay. So I like this, and now we can add another modifier on top. So now I can say, okay, let's add a displace modifier, right? And then I can set the direction or the vertex group to our vertex group. And as you can see, if I go to object mode, right, that controller is what's affecting this plane now. So now I have that controller, and I can always go back to that controller to change things around. It's not exact, but it's affecting it now. And I can play with the mid-level to kind of soften everything too. Okay. So I can soften it a little bit. Play with the strength also. I can invert it if I needed to, just like that. Okay. And then I want to soften these edges, so I can go back up here to the Vertex Weight Proximity and just pull back on this to soften it so it's more of a smooth ramp. Okay. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to pull the mid-level down just a smidge. And then now the next thing we're going to add is a mask. Okay. So if I add a mask, all right, I'm going to set the vertex group again. And now it's being masked. So only those peaks are coming through and everything else is masked. And I can smooth it out too. And so I can just turn up the threshold just to smooth this out some more. All right. And I'm going to turn off wireframe too. So we got a clean look at what we're seeing here. Wireframe, where are you? Oh, I just missed it. There it is. All right, so turn off the wireframe. As you can see, right, we got this nice little control affecting the plane with these with this modifier stack. Okay. So next step, now we're going to add in the hair. Okay. So we're going to add another modifier, or we can just go here to particle. We can hit plus while we have the plane selected, and then hair. Okay. So I'm going to pause that. And then our hair length is very long right now. So I'm going to set it to like 32, maybe short of 12. All right. And then starting off, I'll go 1024. And then we're going to go to our source vertices. I like to set that to vertices. Use modifier stack so it's respecting the shape of everything. And then hair dynamics. I want that on so that we have dynamics happening, such as when I add in turbulence or this modifier stack, right? We have a wave going on. The hair is going to move around and sway and stuff now. So that's why I turn that on. Not going to cache yet. We'll get there though. All this is fine. Vertex weight. Okay, so then we're going to play with our vertex group. So we're going to take the vertex group and we're going to select it under length and go to group to pick our vertex group. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning of this to make sure everything is right. And then I'm going to go here to my modifier stack to make sure everything is set up properly too. And I'm going to turn this off. Go back to my modifier stack. Okay, so the vertex group is working properly for the hair. All right, so we got that set. If I invert it, you'll see that on the valleys, the hair shows up. And if I invert it again, it shows up on the peaks. So this is what we actually want. We want it on the peaks. So if I hit play, let's just play it through real quick. Move this window over so we can get more of a better view. So if I hit play, all right, and you can see the hair is folding or the hair is bending and stuff because we got those dynamics on, right? So all this stuff is happening, which is great. Okay, so I'll go back up here. I'll let it play through smoother one time before I turn it back on. So as you can see, the hair is swaying. Okay, great. That's what we want. And then it's growing, right, dependent on those vertex groups. Because again, we're using that controller to affect our vertex group. Okay, so the hair is getting long and then shortening back up. All right, so the next thing we need to do is turn back on our mask. So we're going to turn this back on. And then I'm going to put the mask up here so that it's always on the plane, on a full plane, growing. All right, got that set up. And then I want to go back to my particles. And then we're going to increase the amount of hair. So I'm going to increase it to 4096. And then this is where we really increase the hair. So if we go here to children and then we set it to simple or interpolate, depending on what you want, I'm going to set it to interpolate. This, what's happening here is for each hair, it's adding more strands of hair. So for each strand of hair, so I'll turn this back off. There's 4,096 strands of hair on this plane, right? And for each of those, we are adding children. Okay. And those children, right, for the viewport, there's 10, but when we render, we get 100. So for each strand of hair, there's 100. Okay. So that gives us way more hair. The only thing you have to consider when doing this is that the one strand of hair is the control for the children. So it's going to follow what the one strand of hair, the children are going to follow what that one strand is doing. So it can have a clumpy look to it. So you want to pay attention to that as you develop this whole setup. I'm going to leave it around 4096 just for video sake. I may turn it up. Let's see how slow it gets, but we'll try it. So I'll hit play to let it cache a little bit. Yeah, I'll work with that. Okay, so now we got a lot of strands of hair in here by using children instead of turning our number all the way up. Okay. All right. So the next thing, last thing I want to do is add some turbulence. Okay. So we're going to add a force field. So I'm going to add a force field here and we're going to add turbulence just like that. And then I'm going to go to my turbulence settings and I'm going to turn it up to 32. All right, so now we got turbulence. I'm going to set the size to 1.5 since I've already experimented and that's the size that worked for me. Got that set up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cache this whole animation, this whole simulation now with the hair. So I'm going to go back to my modifier stack, go to my hair settings, and then we're going to go to here to cache, go back to the beginning, and then I want to set it to bake. Okay, so I'm just going to hit bake. Now the whole thing is just going to calculate and bake, and I'm going to come right back. All right, so the cache is done. Let's play it back and just watch what happens. Sweet. So this is the setup. All right. Now what we can do from here is we set up our shot. All right, so we got it all cached out. All right, we can see the hair flowing through, being revealed, growing, and then growing back down. We got the waves, got the controller set up, and now we can just do our look dev part. Okay, so let's do that. All right, so again, as I always do, I'm gonna split my screen and then create a new, not a new camera, but use my camera that's already in the scene. Rotate -90 degrees, pull the cam up, switch to the camera view, zoom in. As I always, square shot. Then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn off the cavity too. So cavity, I don't want cavity on. All right, got that. And then zoom my camera out. That's what I was going to do. So I need to see where this all ends. So I'm going to play it, see where it ends, like right there. Okay, so let's frame it so that the edges are not showing into the shot. Like so. Something like that works. Cool. All right. And then I'm going to just clean up my viewport so I have a clean render window. And then we'll just start rendering. And then I'll turn on this side here. Like so. And then I can, oh, I forgot to do one thing. I don't like my camera. I like to do more narrow lens. So we'll go 135 and then pull the camera out some more. All right. So let's pull it back out. Way out. All right, we got to bring it back in right there. All right, good. And then go to my render settings, go to film, turn this off so that we got a solid background, and go to my world settings, turn this to pure white. And then I'm going to go to ray visibility, turn all these items off so that my background is not affecting my object. And then I'm going to set to like 0.5, like a gray. Maybe 0.25. 0.5 is good. All right. Next thing, I'm going to add a light. Move it to the right. I'm going to add a empty cube. Shrink it down. Actually, I'll keep it large. And that's going to be our light target. Name that. And then we're going to set this to rotate upward 90 degrees. I'm going to scale the light, and then I'm going to set a constraint so that we have a light target, track 2, and then light target. So now we've created a custom target so that our light stays locked on to the center. All right. And then I'm going to put this light 45 degrees and then shift it upward just a smidge. And then I'm going to go down to my light settings. And then I'm going to turn the spread to 0 so that I can see what the spread is currently. And then I'm going to shrink it back down. Right. And so we can see that the light edge is here and here. It's a little bit more. Now increase the intensity 64. And then I'm going to turn the spread up to like 32. So now I got like this intense center, but it's falling off as we go to the corners. And that's the look I want because I want the focus here in the center. Let's go 32. Let's start with that. All right. So we got a cool look. All right. This kind of look reminds me of like the black and white 90s music videos like Janet Jackson. Okay. Next thing I want to do. So I'm actually catching one thing I need to do. I need to recache it. But I'm not going to do that for the video since we're already this far in. So one thing, maybe I will do it just so that it's there visually for you all. So one thing that I need to do after I finish this look dev is a collision object, because right now the hair is falling right through the ground and I don't want that. It needs a collision object. But for now, we'll finish this look dev part and then we'll come back to that. All right, so for my material, I'm going to create a new material and then I'm going to leave it what it is by default in terms of color. I'm going to turn the metallic up and then set this to like 0.3. And then that's good. And then I need to put a smooth, set shade smooth on the plane. So let's set that up too. So I'm going to do a smooth like that. If I got the right one. I don't think I got the right one. Let's turn that back off. All right, smooth by angle. Yeah, so let's go 60. Nope, it's not working. Maybe I need to just do it auto smooth. Shade auto smooth. There we go. Okay, it's not perfect, but it works for now. All right, got that set. I'm going to move it up the stack too. I'm not going to pin it here. Let's move it up here. There we go. That's where I want. There we go. Now we got it right. Just needed to organize my modifier stack. All right. So that's my simple material that I set up to in the animation that I played. So let's play it back. So here, just play it through a little bit. And so as you can see, it's intersecting, right? That's a problem. I don't want that. So I need to make sure I have collision on too, so that it's not intersecting through the plane. So I got to fix that too. I'm going to fix that and then we'll continue on. So I'm going to set a simple collision here. Like that. So now we got a collision object too. All right, so we're done with that. And then I need to put it above the hair. So that's going to collide. And then I have to redo my caching. So I need to delete the bake. And then now I have to recache everything. Okay. So I'm going to bake it and then we'll come back. All right, so let's see if we got this fixed. So we got the cache done again. Play it back. Hopefully it's not intersecting this time. All right, looks like we got something better. Cool. Let's render it. Awesome. Yep. All right, so we're looking good now. All right, so the next thing I would do is I would just probably send it out to render. So to wrap this up, I would turn on motion blur. And then I would just go over here, set my render 1920 by 1920 so I can always crop it later. And then from output, I usually do an EXR. And then I got a Natron setup that I just render out to. And I always render out to a default location. Usually for these animations, I just overwrite a set of frames that I have sitting in a folder when I do this. So I'm not taking up a bunch of space and having all these frames saved, since I have the 3D files always. Can always render it again, especially with a GPU card. So that's it. That's all I would do. And then some other things that I would do is I can create additional view and lighting. So I could take this whole setup, right? Put my light in there, put my light target here too. And then I can take these two items, make a new collection, call that shot 100, create that, put this back here in this collection too now. So I got that shot set up, right? And then I can make a new shot. So I can take this camera, Shift D, or Shift D in the viewport, hit escape so I'm not moving it. And then I'm going to track this camera to well, I can just create another view. So let's create another view. We'll just do one straight on. So from the left, I can go here, rotate it up 90 degrees, and then I can set my view to this new camera too. So let's see, move this, make some more space here, and then set that to the camera. And then we'll just go straight on like this, like a horizon shot. So this is another shot we have, and I can pull the camera back some, right? And then now just a very minimalistic look. Okay. Make a new light too. I'll just duplicate this one and then move it out. So Shift D. Oh, let me turn it on. Then I'll Shift D it. So let's turn this stuff on. Select the light, Shift D, so that we still have that track constraint. And then we're going to move it out of here, make another collection. So new collection, call it shot 0 to 100. And this is just organizing our lights. So I'll move that into this LGT collection, turn this back off. And then now got a new light setup. Okay. So I'm just going to do straight from the side. And then I'm just going to raise it up here like so. And then I probably don't need the spread on for this one. So I'm going to pull the spread back to 180. And then we're going to increase the intensity to 512 probably. Yeah. So very like stark look. I like this look. And it reminds me of like those old 90s videos and where they use a lot of black and white. So I can just play with the height, kind of find a look that I like. Maybe here it's a little bit more dynamic, more shadows, or over the top. I kind of like this look. I can move it in closer too. So I like that look right there. I'm going to go with that. So that's another shot. And you got to kind of imagine like what this looks like as an animation. Don't look at it just this way, right? I'm looking at it from an animation perspective. So last thing I could do too is I could set some depth of field up possibly, but not for this. If I had it angled up a little bit more, I would set the depth of field. But now we have like a very narrow lens and it's kind of just rolling towards us and then dissipating. And then another set is coming up behind that, right? So the next set comes up. So cool look, right? And then I can create another camera. Maybe I can keep this lighting for this option. Shift D again, have another camera. Let's select that. And then I can kind of just angle down, right? And get a shot like that now. Maybe I can move it in closer. I like the lighting already. And then I can create a empty. Let's make it real big. And this is going to be my focus point. And then with that camera selected, we're going to turn on depth of field for this one. And then we're going to set it to 1.8 lens. And then I'm going to set my focus point. See focus point, there it is. Got that set. And then 1.8, cool. And we got some depth of field, okay? So in the foreground, right, there's a little bit of depth of field happening. So if I take that focus point, where's it at? There it is. I can set my focus point on this thing too now. So like in the foreground, right, I got these elements of focus, and as they go back, they kind of go out of focus. So that's another look we can do. So let's kind of shift through our frames to see what happens too. So that's another cool look. Or we can even move this camera in closer, right, for like a, say kind of like we're doing a macro shot. So G, Z, Z, shift the camera in, kind of just crop a lot of stuff out, right? So now that's a really, really cool look, okay? So these foreground elements are in focus again, right? And I could animate this back here too as I can rack the focus on it too, or focus on the center objects, right, as they're growing out. Okay, so cool. I mean, that's how I created this whole effect. You know, I'm still experimenting with it. Took some time to figure out. I want to do some other things to see what else I can do with this thing too. Be cool to see what you guys do with this stuff also. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Different thing from particle eviction. I might, you know what, be able to play with the two. I might be able to add particle or add advection to the hair, where I shoot those fireballs out and the hair kind of sways from the part of the fireball shooting out. So maybe I'll try that too. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.